Welcome to the You're Not Crazy podcast, hosted by Jessica Knight, a certified life coach who specializes in healing from narcissistic and emotional abuse. This podcast is intended to help you identify manipulative and abusive behavior, set boundaries with yourself and others, and heal the relationship with yourself so you can learn to love in a healthy way. You can connect with Jessica and find additional resources, content, and coaching at emotionalabusecoach.com.
Hello, and thank you for being here. Before we dive in, I want to go through the fine print and share how we can work together. Because healing from this kind of pain takes a lot more than time. It takes the right kind of support. I work with people entangling themselves from emotionally abusive relationships, coercive control, trauma bonds, high conflict co-parenting dynamics, high conflict divorce, and if you're at the beginning of the road and wondering what divorce would look like. I offer one-on-one coaching at every stage. If you're still in the relationship, if you're unsure if it's abuse, if you know it's abuse but you're having trouble understanding what that looks like, or what to do with it, I can help you name what's happening, start setting boundaries that work for you, and figure out what you need. If you're thinking about leaving, we'll explore what that might look like in a grounded and personalized way. If you're navigating divorce or custody or co-parenting with a high conflict person, I can help you document, strategize, and stay emotionally anchored, especially when you're being gaslit, discredited, and re-traumatized by the legal system. If you've already left and you're stuck in the trauma bond, or if you've been discarded and struggling to feel like yourself again, I can help you rebuild self-trust and reconnect with your own nervous system in a way that actually feels doable. Everything I do is highly personalized. I don't walk you through a one-size-fits-all program. I listen, I reflect, and I guide you based on what you're facing right now. And some people work with me through a one-time validation call, which is offered on my website, where we zero in on one issue you're struggling with and start to untangle it together. Others work with me on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, depending on what's going on in your specific situation. And this is especially helpful when healing from emotional abuse and also in divorce. If you're curious about starting, I offer a $25 intro call, which if you listen to my older episodes, I call it a clarity call. It did used to be free, and I talk about it at a later episode, but really a lot of people were no-showing to those calls, and that was taking away time from clients that I do work one-on-one with. And so if we move forward, I just take that fee and apply it to your first session. That intro call is just for us to get on the same page so you can share what's going on for you and I can share how I might be able to help. I only take a limited number of those calls per month because one-on-one coaching is the core of my work. Out of all these offerings that I have, one-on-one coaching is the thing that I do the most, and I do it 6 days a week most of the time, 5 to 6 days a week. And so if my calendar looks full and if there's not a time that you can get in, you can email me at jessicaknightcoaching.com, and I always try and make space where I can. And I may also always have a few openings from one-on-one client reschedules. You can also explore self-paced courses and toolkits at jessicaknight.thinkific.com, including Divorcing a Narcissist 101 and the Emotional Abuse Breakthrough course. I have a documentation course and my new signature program, Unhooked, which is a private podcast and course that walks you through the full cycle of abuse, helps you map it in your relationship and how to break it and how to begin to see what it really is that you're going through. If you want ongoing support in a more flexible way, you could always check out my Substack at jessicaknight.substack.com. Each month I focus on a different theme, from trauma bonding to divorce to cluster B to sexual coercion to emotional abuse to toxic breakups. Those are just some from this year. Paid members get access to monthly deep dives, master classes, Q&As, strategy kits, and I'm working on some more group options. There is also a free option and a monthly option. So please head over to Substack. The link is in my show notes. You also can just search Jessica Knight Coaching and I'll come up. Everything that I create is meant to help. My coaching, my writing, my courses, this podcast, it's built around the one truth that you're not crazy. You are conditioned to doubt your reality, and I want to help you change that and understand what you're going through. If you like this podcast, the best thing that you can do is subscribe and rate the episode 5 stars. You can find me on my websites, emotionalabusecoach.com and high-conflict divorcecoaching.com. All of the offerings that I just mentioned are also in the show notes below. Now let's get to the episode.
This is not a post about how the new year feels promising or good. This is for the people that feel uneasy or heavy or scared as the year changes. It's not about being reflective. It's really honestly not even about being hopeful, but just trying to get through it. And I'm not writing from a place of this like resolution or clarity. I'm writing from the authentic truth of what the end of the year can feel like when your life hasn't felt safe. And if New Year's and New Year's Eve and New Year's talk makes you feel behind or broken, I hope that this provides you with some authenticity, because it was one of the markers for me when I was getting out of not one, but two, I didn't call it abuse at the time, but abusive relationships. So I'm going to be honest, there really aren't like lessons here. It's honestly just really a permission slip to take this like one moment at a time right now. As the year was ending years back, many years back, I wasn't making resolutions. And this time of year always makes me reflect back to that, because it was like really defining in this feeling of like, I cannot do this anymore. And for context, I was always somebody who actually really loved New Year's Eve. I'm from New York, and New Year's Eve is, it's an exciting day. It's like the whole city, really the whole country rallies around like the ball dropping in New York. And not that as a New Yorker, you are there watching it. Like it's usually one of the days you avoid, but you celebrate. And I always liked New Year's Eve when I was growing up. My friends liked New Year's Eve. And I always thought that I liked the idea of a new beginning. And I do think that we could have new beginnings all the time, whenever we choose. It could be a Tuesday afternoon at 3:00, and you could say, I want a new beginning right now. But when I was starting to have New Year's that really felt like pure dread going into the next one, and I wasn't feeling reflective or hopeful, I was feeling heavy, claustrophobic, even in my own skin. And I remember like every conversation feeling really loaded. Every attempt to explain myself turned into blame, and I was just exhausted from trying to stay calm and trying to stay neutral and trying to find the right words and trying not to trigger another explosion. When I reflect back to this time, I'm being vague on purpose about what it was, but I was having panic attacks. I was crying in private and then wiping my face so that my daughter wouldn't see. I was negotiating my own needs all the time so that the day wouldn't blow up. I was trying to put myself into a pretzel. I remember thinking, this isn't the life I want to live. I remember feeling dead inside all of the time and writing that all of the time in my journal. And it actually made it harder that it was the end of the year. And like the end of the year energy tends to invite a lot of reflection. It asks you to take inventory of your life and to reflect. And that is brutal when you're living inside of emotional abuse. It's absolutely brutal, right? You look at your life and you're like, I don't want another year of this. Because when you reflect, you don't see progress. You don't see how much has changed. You see how much of yourself you've given away and how many conversations have gone in circles and how often you were told who you are and what you feel and why it's your fault. I remember being asked to take responsibility for things that weren't mine. I was being told the relationship problems were 50-50, while I was the one bending, explaining, calming, apologizing, and still being met with anger and contempt. I knew that agreeing to that narrative would mean abandoning myself. And that awareness, that like little voice saying, I don't deserve this, was there, and it was coming up and it was stronger. And like every time something happened, that voice was stronger and stronger and stronger. I know that what I couldn't see at the time was that it was not just a hard relationship, but I was in this psychological trap because the rules just kept changing. And every conversation required me to stay calm and careful and self-edited. And while his anger, contempt, and withdrawal set the tone of the day, repair was always conditional on if he believed me. Not on if he was willing, not if he was thinking, if he believed me. I almost felt like I had to earn peace by shrinking, apologizing, and agreeing to a reality that I wouldn't choose. That's not conflict that feels mutual. That doesn't feel like 50-50. I think that, and what I've learned that is that in a healthy relationship, discomfort leads to repair. It leads to tough conversations, but a mutual understanding. I remember every time I tried to explain how I felt, the focus shifted to my tone or my timing or my flaws and my part, in air quotes. I was taught what my part should be. And usually it was that if I just communicate better, stay calmer, take more responsibility, gave him a chance, things would settle down. And no matter what I did, it never got better, because the problem was not how I was communicating. The problem was that the relationship required me to not be myself in order for it to stay intact. And that's the trap of emotional abuse. You keep fixing yourself while the harming goes unnamed because you keep trying and you're reflecting and you believe that relationships require effort or accountability, but all the while, the cost is you, and that's the trap. I do think holidays make it feel so much worse because it doesn't soften anything here; it amplifies it. It's not an escape; it's more of like the strobe light on it, and so it's more pressure to act normal, more pressure to pretend like things are fine, more guilt for not feeling grateful enough, more fear about what would happen. Abuse doesn't just pause; it doesn't care that the year is ending. It doesn't give you a clean emotional reset on January 1st. I remember, I think it was the year after the one I'm talking about here. I remember being at a party for New Year's Eve, out of that relationship, crying in the bathroom because I was just so scared to continue another year feeling the same way I was feeling. If you're coming to the end of the year in a relationship like this, I just want to be clear. If you're saying I can't keep living like this is not a giant sign of failure. I want to give you permission that you deserve to feel relief instead of just hope. You can tell yourself that you have permission, that you don't have enough clarity yet to leave, but you're not okay with where it is. And you're not weak for being exhausted, panicked, wanting to avoid the new year. Sometimes the most honest end of year truth is, I can't keep living like this. And that realization doesn't mean you're ready to leave. It doesn't mean you have a plan. It means your body's telling you the truth and you're going to choose to listen to it. And that's where I was when that particular year closed. I was still in the relationship, still trying, still hoping, and still waking up to what I felt like was a nightmare. The relationship ended 4 months later. It wasn't suddenly. It wasn't because I gave up, even though I was told that. It was because I stopped carrying the relationship. I could not go through another day, let alone another year, feeling the way I was feeling. I don't think that leaving abuse is it comes in a day. I think it's almost like a process of unhooking your nervous system from something it adapted to survive. And getting through everybody else's feedback and judgments and ideas. And once you see what it is, you can't unsee it. Once your body is naming it, you can't unsee it. And so if the new year feels scary, if it actually feels frightening instead of hopeful, there really honestly is not something wrong with you as you are. New Year's asks us to imagine the future. And when your life has felt unpredictable or unsafe, imagining the future can feel like a threat instead of something that's hopeful. And you're allowed to enter the year without the full clarity or as tired or unsure, but you're allowed to be hopeful that something might be different without it being loud, without it being resolution, without maybe just asking for like, what is the next sign that I need to see to know? What's the clarity that I need? What's the step that I need to take to get the clarity I need for what I want to do here? And if you, my clients know this, I never push somebody to leave unless there is a severe safety concern, which has maybe happened 5 times in the last 5 years where it's been like I'm very afraid of this. I think you should do this. And I work with a lot of people. And so I never push anyone to leave because it took me a long time. This took 4 months. Another one took longer than that. And then after that is when I learned what a trauma bond was, essentially. But hope doesn't have to be loud to be real. And sometimes it looks like just noticing that your body feels slightly calmer when they're not around. I think sometimes it looks like realizing you don't blame yourself as quickly, or if you do, at least you catch it. Sometimes it looks like putting one foot on the floor and deciding, you know what, that's enough for today. I did enough today. And if all you can do right now is stay connected to yourself or to that voice, or to give that voice some time, and that voice is saying this isn't right, that's not failing the new year. That's how people survive emotional abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, coercive control. You're responding normally to something that's been very, very hard. Even when a marriage ends or a relationship ends, the learning or unlearning is still unfolding. And that's what makes these stages so hard and complicated, because you're walking away from being told who you are and entering a space where you can understand and know who you are. I think sometimes the bravest thing you could do at the end of the year is to stop gaslighting yourself. It might be the most honest intention for the new year, is that you don't abandon yourself. And so, like I said, I didn't go into this episode thinking it was going to be uplifting. I thought it would at least be honest. If there's a lot of uplifting podcasts out there right now about the new year, and if you feel ready for them, then they're by other people and they probably are great. But I feel like this is the most honest I can be with you. And I am going to do an episode on a New Year's activity next week that I do almost every year, which is in the same breath of honesty. And I learned it the year that I knew my marriage was over. So if this is helpful, you always can find my resources at emotionalabusecoach.com, at emotionalabusecoach on Instagram, and you can email me at jessica@jessicaknightcoaching.com. And all of my resources are mentioned at the beginning of the episode, that if you are a listener, you probably at this point fast forward through, which I totally understand. But if you're looking for what else you can do, I'd start there. I really, really hope that this was helpful for you.